Hey guys, welcome back. Second video in 2 nights. I'm excited to bring to you a upgraded model here that does not take any more calculating than you've already been doing. There's just a couple formulated columns that I've added that formulate themselves, so there's no more workload as far as doing any calculations or converting to ratings. And I mentioned in my video last night, if you watched it, that I'm still trying to figure out the best thing to do with the fitness rating. Okay, what combinations of factors or just single factor I should use for a fitness rating. Well, that's one of the upgrades in this model here. And I'm going to put this model in the download sheet for those of you that have the digital tutorial. And I'm also going to put it in the downloadable sheets for the book, the Amazon book as well. So even though neither model has these additions to it in the tutorial or in the book, you're getting it right here, and this is why it's important to stay on top of the videos here as well, because like I said, this model here is a constant ongoing project that I'm adding pieces, taking pieces out. As of right now, I feel like I'm at a point where I don't need to take any pieces out. I'm not going to remove anything. Things have been going well with it for me. I had a nice day today at Oaklawn. I did enough to keep me ahead. Okay, I see a $30 16, a $78.40, a $22.80, a $31.50, and a $60. I spent about $110 on the race, and I came out over $200 there. But back to the point here, which was the upgrades of the model. Now I'm going to show you where my upgrades are, and I'm actually going to do a couple horses. I'm doing Mahoning Valley tomorrow, and if those of you that are interested in seeing all the races when they're done, I always put them in the Discord. Anytime I handicap, I put them in the Discord. So I'll have all 8 races from Mahoning Valley tomorrow in the Discord. So if you want to check it out, if you're not a member of the Discord, the invite link is down in the description. Click it. It's free. Jump in. Share your thoughts. Or kind of just hide in the background if you want and just see what's going on. Okay. Now here's what we're doing. I'm going to color the new columns. The new columns here are right here. SFL. And what that means is this is the last 2 calls, and I'm trying to think right now why I abbreviated SFL, and it'll come to me. It's the last 2 calls of the race, like we were doing before. Oh, that's right. Stretch final. And then the lengths gained or lost. Okay? So that was a component before of our fitness rating. Now all we're going to do is we're going to put that by itself in there. I've also added the speed rating column, because up to this point we've been doing nothing with the speed rating unless you have your own model, which I know a few do in the Discord, that you've added the Brisnet speed rating, which is found right here, to the model. It's now in there. I'm not using it as a standalone. Okay, I'm not looking at who the top speed ratings are and making sure I include them on top. Okay, I don't like to do that because, again, most of the public sees that as well. But instead, I'm using that as an ingredient in some of the factors over here on the summary grid, including the fitness rating as well. This is where the fitness rating is calculated now. So there's another new column I've added. Actually, it's not a new column. It's just we no longer have to manually punch anything in here. And we had to do that as recent as last night, the video I showed you last night when the grids did not have these columns added. But what this is doing right now, it's averaging the target rating, the speed rating, and the lengths behind from the stretch to the finish, and the gains that were made or losses that were taken as well. And I'm going to go over a few of these races here. And hopefully you saw the video last night So you can kind of compare what I was doing with the fitness rating then and now. And now the other new columns over here are the ET and the SF. And I'm going to explain what they are. First of all, we already have a column that tells us about the performance in the pace line that we used from the start of the turn to the finish, okay? So if you picture the oval here, the start of the turn all the way around to the finish, it's indicated right here. Okay, that's measured in this column here, which we went over a few times now. The turn itself is calculated on its own when comparing E1 and E2. It calculates on its own a turn rating based on the time. Okay, but the only time we ever used the turn, we didn't use it as a standalone factor, at least I didn't. The only time we used that turn factor was when it was mixed in here with the finish. Now I actually have it mixed in as well with the early. Okay, so what this column here does is it averages the 3 early measurements, 1, 2, 3, and the turn. And it comes up with a early/turn rating. And why is that important? Well, what I was doing was I'm always analyzing my grids, thinking about what's a better way to analyze this grid. What is the grid telling me? Based off data I'm getting from the pace line I choose. And I say this in every video. You're always at the mercy of the pace line that you chose to use. It's simple as that. Your grid is not going to spit out data from 4 or 5 races if you've only used 1 race. It's not going to spit out data from a race 2 back if you use the most recent race as your pace line. So you're always at the mercy of that pace line. Now, what is this telling me? It's telling me, hopefully, and understand this, we got the best early performance mixed with the turn. That's what this is. Now, the horse that has the top factor or top rating in this column here, logically, should be the horse that's on the lead at the top of the stretch. Right? So we have, for example, let's use a better one because this 4 horse in Mahoning 3 is like across the board. But we take a look here, and it's telling us the 4 horse based on the early measurements along with the turn, even though the turn he didn't have the best turn rating. He had the 3rd best, 91, but it was good enough to put him on top in this category early in turn. So chances are that horse has a good shot based on the pace line, the data from the pace line we chose, and if the horse runs to this, what do I want to say? If the horse runs to this standard, he should have the lead at the top of the stretch. Now, the race isn't over at the top of the stretch. Now, the other factors come into play here. From the turn, from the end of the turn to the finish, from the top of the lane, same thing to the finish. So now I have what's known as an SF, and the SF stands for the sustainability factor. How well is a horse able to sustain what he's showing us here up to this point, right here? Okay, whether it's good or whether it's bad, how likely is he to sustain that? Or is he going to be, strong to the top of the lane and then fade? Or does he have the ability to sustain? Well, this is where we tie in our 2 things. We tie in I'll show you up here, P33, V33. We tie in the fitness rating with the final rating. Okay? So why do we do those 2? Because again, it's telling us it's averaging out his finishing ability along with a fitness rating comparing to other horses. So you see a horse that's dominant here, early and the turn, and he's somewhat dominant here. You want to make sure you include that horse in your selections, okay? Because chances are if he's dominant here, dominant there, he's going to figure well in the overall and the average and the early-late combination, okay? Now, the early-late combination here does not take into fact the fitness rating. It takes in consideration of the early factors and these factors right here together, and it doesn't figure in the new factors that we put in. Okay, so it is a factor of its own. It's not an average. This is not just an average of everything that's going on back here. It's a factor of its own. But in the end, we're looking for color. Okay, we're looking for where the horses are strong, where they showed they were strong from the pace line that you pulled your data from, and are they able to sustain from the turn, and then from the start of the turn to the top of the lane, and also to the from the end of the turn to the finish, and then let the grid paint the picture for you from there on. Now we're going to look at a race here. I'm going to go to Mahoney race 5. And I'm going to go pretty quick here, especially with the factors that we've done over and over again millions of times. But this is a 6 furlong race, 5,000 claimer. I'm looking here. I'm seeing I got 2 races I can choose from, 6 furlongs. I'm going to go with the one that had the better finish and was run at the same level, 5,000. Non-winners of 2 lifetime. So if I go here and I just put the data in, I got a 22.3. That's a 97. I got a 46.3. That's an 87. I got an 84.74. E1, E2 pace ratings. I have a 3 and a 0 for race shape. Target rating here is a 113 and 2 off of 108. That's a 25-27. That's a 73. And remember, this is a 6 furlong race. So this is actually this horse's final time. If you have your PP generator set correctly to where it's showing the horse's fractions and not the leader's fractions. So you do not have to adjust anything on the end here. 73 stays the 73. The final fraction, we have a 46.3 to a 113.2. That's 13.2, 26 and 4. From a 22, that's 24, that's a 76. Late pace has it as a 71. New factors now. Speed rating was a 58. And then our stretch and finish lengths, he was close enough to be on the lead, and there was no gain or loss, so that's going to be a 100. So as you can see, your fitness rating now is going to automatically compute based on the averages of those 3 factors. And now we have our early and turn and our sustainability factor of a 75.25. So let's do a couple horses here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause after I do a couple more. And then I'm going to come back with the result when the chart's done. And we'll evaluate. We'll kind of look at the picture that it's painted for us. So let's do the second horse here. 6 furlongs. We'll use the last race. We got a 23.2, which is a 92. We have an 81 here. We have an 81, 77, minus 7, minus 3. Target rating, 114 and 2. That's a 32. That's a 68. Final fraction, 47 to 4 to a 114.2. That's a 12 and 1 to a minute, plus another 14.2. That's a 26.3. Off of a 22, that's a 77. Late pace is a 71. We have a 60 as a speed rating. And we have a 4 plus 3 is 7. And he also lost the length. So we're going to add one more. That's an 8 from 100. That'd be a 92 here. which gives this horse a 73.3 fitness rating. And let's do one more. And guys, if you're following me every step of the way, and you know exactly where I'm coming from with these ratings when I go and I convert in my head real fast, and I'm coming up with 81, 74, and everything, that's great. That means you guys are right on the ball with this. And those that are still looking at this like it's Chinese or another language, you may want to kind of just brush up either through video, if you have the tutorials or the book. Just keep, watching my examples over and over again. Slow it down, pause it, or rewatch certain parts of your tutorial or certain chapters in the book until you have this down pat. Some of you may understand it, but your mental math isn't there yet, and it takes you a little bit longer. That's all right. Over time, you're going to be able to convert right away. When you see a time, you're going to be able to convert it right to a rating. Let's do one more. I tossed that 3 simply because of what it's showing me there. I'm going to toss this 4 as well, especially because it's not dropping back out of class back in today. It's been running 5,000. It's had 3 chances here recently. It did show early speed here, faltered, but again, it wasn't at a higher level, so I'm going to toss that 4. And we'll do the 5, hopefully. Yes, okay. 6 furlongs. It was on synthetic. Okay. You do what you want to do with synthetic. Right now, I've been leaving it as the same. I haven't been making any adjustments to the ratings, like I do on turf, from turf to dirt. I've been leaving it as it is. So a 24 is a 90. 48-1 is a 79. The E1 is A2. 71. We have a +1 and a -5. Target rating 113.4 is 25. 71. Final fraction 48.1 to 113. A 48-1. I'm going to do this slow. Those of you that are having trouble with the final fractions. Here's how I do it mentally. Okay, mental math. A 48-1 to a minute would be 11-4. Now I add the additional 13-4, which would be a 24-8, which, dealing with fifths of seconds, that's a 25-3. Off of a 22, that would be, what did I say, 25-3. That's an 82. Okay, 5 for each second, 1 for each fifth. So that would be an 82. Briz has it, pace rating as a 76. Speed rating of a 59. We got a 100. Here's what I'm doing here. Okay, anytime we have first place runner in first place in both calls, I make that 100. Okay, I don't. If this horse was in the lead by 6, I don't make it 106 or 107. I make it 100, and then I adjust to the lengths gained or lost. So if he was in first by 4 lengths and then he finished by 1 length, he lost 3 lengths. I would make that a 97. But in this case, he gained a length, so that would be 100, and then +1 is 101. I make a 101 rating, and that comes out to a 77. So I'm going to do the rest of the grid, and then come back, and we will kind of analyze it. I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm back. Let's take a look at the grid. Right now, we have, based on what Brisnet's telling me, we have 1 E horse, okay? And the pace line was pulled from a race where he was actually on the lead, and that's a 12, which is a tough position. This is a large field. That's a tough spot, but you give him the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, he's not showing any. He was on the lead last time out, but the pace he set wasn't, it wasn't a blazing pace for any, by any means, especially coming off a sprint race. So I see 2 horses here, the 1 horse and the 6 horse, who, off of their last race, or off of the race that we looked at, or that I looked at, ran better early. Okay, so I'm not even going to consider this 12 as being in the front. And if he is, chances are he's going to use a lot to get there from the 12 spot. And being that he's not showing much to begin with, I'm not going to really look at him as even factored into the mix here. Okay, I could be wrong, but we'll see. What I do see, however, is I see dominant early from the 6, and I see some dominance in the 1 horse. So when I go a little bit further here, when you compare the early measures here, the 3 early measurements with the turn, which we don't have to do manually anymore, because we already know that this column here, the early and turn, computes it its own, but logic's going to tell you that top turn time or top rating, best early measurements will produce the best early and turn. So what's that telling me? I'm based on my grid. I foresee the 6 horse having the lead at the top of the stretch, potentially. All right. Now from there, I look at the ability to sustain. Well, I see right here that this horse is tops in final and finish, and tops in when you add this turn to the finish. So he's obviously going to have the top sustainability rating as well. So this 6 does it for me across the board. But I want you to take a look here, and this is going to show why it's important to look back at your PPs before you make any final decisions. I use the 6 and the 9 as my top plays here, followed by the 5 and then followed by the 1. Okay? And I had mentioned before in many videos that, I'm not looking at all 4 of these horses, using them on top in an exacta or anything, or a try. But I'm looking at including them, making sure I'm including them somewhere along the line with the 6 and the 9, or maybe even the 5, 6, and the 9 on top. And making sure that the 1 is there, maybe in the second leg or third leg, or, if it's a superfecta, I'll throw the 2 in there as well. I'll throw in some other things. I'll start looking at individual fitness ratings over here to kind of figure out who I want to plug into my 4th leg. Because after the winner, a lot can happen. Okay, a lot can happen with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And that's why you get some bombs sometimes finishing, in a 3rd leg of a try, or finishing the 3rd leg of a superfecta, and sometimes even the 2nd in an exacta. All right, but back to what we were saying, why it's important to look back. I see the dominance of the 6. And the first thing I did was I wanted to see where does the morning line odds maker have this horse. So when I go back, not only did I see he was 7-2, which was, I see that, but then I also look and I say, this is his first time out against winners, okay? He just broke his maiden after 11 tries, lifetime. Now he's coming out for the first time against winners. Now, these figures here look dominant compared to the rest of the field. This is only a $5,000 claimer, non-winners of 2. So these other runners here are also vying for their 2nd win. Okay, so it's not like he's stepping up to an allowance company or an open claimer. He's stepping up to the next level that he's allowed to step up to, and that's 5,000. But just in case, because some of these other runners have experience against winners, I want to make sure that I include another horse or 2 on top of an exotic. Now, if this 6 horse was dropping in class, or it had a race already, this race was coming out of the same level, I might even use that as a single in a horizontal, such as a double, pick 3, pick 4, and single on top, key it on top of a try, so forth. But I'm not going to do that here because of the reasons I just explained. Okay, so that's pretty much what this video was about. And I'm going to finish this card, and I'm going to put all eight charts in the Discord for those of you that are members. And I'm also going to, I'm probably going to play a little bit tomorrow, but I'm mainly concerned with how these adjustments and these new additions come into play. And I'm really going to get it. If I don't catch the races, I'm going to watch replays. And on the replays, what I'm going to look for is the ET horse Where was he at the top of the lane? Was he in the lead? And I might even do a follow-up video to give you a percentage. Out of the 8 races, how many times was the ET horse at the top, in the lead at the top of the lane? All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. As usual, throw your comments, questions in the video, and when I see them, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thanks for tuning in.